Anyway, should we make a start?
Absolutely.
Cool. Okay. Well, welcome. Welcome to Talking About Coaching. We'll see which episode this is going to be, but I'm super pleased that I have you here, Denise Mortimer. We actually studied the Masters in Positive Psychology together back in 2008.
I think that's right, yes.
Yes, and we just realized that we actually hadn't physically seen each other since then.
That's right.
And it's funny how social media works in this way, because like in my mind, we've been in touch.
Yes.
I've seen what you're up to.
Yeah.
And there was a moment I'm like, oh no, we haven't actually spoken for like 2-3 years at the time when I realized like I know what you're doing and I know what you're about. I even know some of your challenges and some of your successes, and
Yes.
it's like funny how social media works in that way.
It's
But yes, we
amazing.
haven't actually seen each other in person, face to face, since 2009.
Yes. You were skateboarding at the time. That was your... do you still skateboard?
That was my main mode of transportation,
I love it.
and now it's a bit more difficult because if you skate places, you need to have a change of clothes with you, and
Yeah.
you're going to be a bit smelly, and
Yeah.
it's just not as appropriate now depending on where I go.
Yeah.
So I still do. I still absolutely love it. It's a great flow experience. It was pretty much part of my personal brand because you could see me everywhere with a 5-foot longboard.
Yeah.
But like, it got less. I guess I grew up a little bit, although I don't think skating necessarily has anything to do with being grown up or not.
I agree.
I've seen people on all ages. There was a wonderful woman, she calls herself Silver Skater, and she started skating again. She skated in her 20s, and then she didn't skate for like 40 years. And then she picked up skating again when she was 61.
Wow.
And it was fantastic. She was at all the meetups and in the park. She was like do slalom. She didn't do the crazy tricks of downhill at high speeds, but she was skating.
That's absolutely
She loved
brilliant.
it.
So there's meetups for skaters, there's for skateboarders.
Yeah.
Oh, that, of course, why wouldn't there be? But I'm not in that world,
Yeah.
so I don't think like that.
Yeah, and
Oh,
it's
that's awesome.
Skating in a way is like coaching. Like skating isn't one thing, coaching isn't one thing.
Yes.
You know, so
yeah.
there's like these kind of skaters, and there's slalom and downhill and freestyle, and like there's the crazy people, and there's people of all ages. So there's so many approaches to skating, like there are so many approaches to coaching.
Yes.
And you just figure out what kind of person am I, and what do I connect with, and why do I want to do this.
Yeah.
And then you just keep expressing yourself. You keep doing it for your own reasons. And yeah, I love that about skating and coaching. They're both very much unregulated.
Yeah. Interesting. Great comments. I love it.
Anyway, I love to have you here. And when we talked, this is gonna go a little bit beyond coaching per se, in terms of coaching clients, or what particular approaches to coaching are there. What you specialized in is something that I see is more and more important to coaches out there, because you focus on helping coaches to build their businesses.
That's right.
And you actually yourself, which I found fantastic, is you set yourself a goal last year to turn your business into a 6-figure business.
Yes.
With your coaching work or coaching related work, and then you went and fucking did it. So it's like, for me it was great because I know a couple of 6-figure coaches, but I think to a lot of people for you out there, it's like, it's still a bit of a myth, right? It's like, 6-figure coaches that like they earn over £99,000 a year. Like that to many people seems alien, because like that's a serious effort.
Yeah.
But then in Forbes a couple of weeks ago, I did a bit of research into the growth of the coaching industry, and Forbes wrote that it was in the United States or perhaps globally, I'm not sure, I'm going to put it in the show notes later, but that coaching is the fastest growing 6-figure industry in the world. Or perhaps in the US, where we see, but like more and more coaches earning 6 figures a year. And I think it's really useful to have to talk to somebody who's actually done that, and explore a little bit about what's involved in that journey. What are some of the challenges, the successes, some of the tips, but just kind of make it more real, because it's not a fantasy. I know good few people who have done this. Some over years, some in very short amounts of time, some very long amounts of time. You know, so it's really good to explore that, and that's why I'm excited to talk to you today.
Great. I'm excited to share with you.
Brilliant. So where do we start? Do you want to give a bit of context over who you are,
Sure.
what you do?
Sure. So, as you know, we did our positive psychology together. I was one of the mature students. I think you were probably age appropriate to be at university, and I was one of the mature students. I'd always had a love for psychology and helping people, but I was always in the corporate world. And it was in 2016, sitting at my kitchen table, when my daughter said to me, I was doing coaching for years, but always like 50 pounds an hour, if I could even find a client. Like I didn't know how to prospect. I didn't know anything about how to do coaching as a business.
I remember that time. The time after your training when you're like, okay, I'm a great coach now, I can transform lives, but I have no clue how to actually get bums on the seat.
Yeah, I was like, now everybody come to me. I was just expecting clients to come to me. I was like, so I kept doing another qualification and another qualification, and I would go on courses, and I was just hoping that somehow this solution was going to come to me. And I was watching people in the online space building these businesses. I didn't know if they were frauds or if they were genuinely was it the real deal? They were making all this money and they were getting all these clients. And I'm thinking, in addition to that, like I'm 50 plus years old, and I'm thinking, how are these like 20 something year olds doing this when I've got a lifetime of experience? So I was almost getting indignant about it. Then my daughter said to me, it was 2016 at my kitchen table, she said, why don't you take your coaching online? I'm like, how on earth do you do that? And so she showed me my daughter works online. She teaches people how to become virtual assistants. And she showed me her client's website and all this blog posts and these beautiful photos. And I was a bit overwhelmed because I was like, I don't have a website and I don't have all these wonderful blog posts and I don't have all these great branding photos. But I took one step and I decided that I had enough information that I could deliver something out there. And so I began my journey. I thought I'll start now. And being 50 plus years old, this is a bit rude, but most of my life is behind me than ahead of me. Chances of me, doubling my age from here is pretty low. So I thought, let me do the thing that I want to do before I die.
Oh, we're getting existential already. Such a good motivator, this death thing, isn't it?
Yes, yeah, totally. And so I never do things by half. So I immersed myself in this world of creating a business, and I started learning everything there was about running a business online. And my first course was a 21-pound course. It was called 21 Days to Happier Ways, and I'm still running it because do you know what? It still changes people's lives.
The first one that you offered, not the first one that you did in order to learn about it.
No, the first course I ever offered as a paid course was called 21 Days to Happier Ways, and it was just like bite-sized chunks of positive psychology, one chunk a day, one small thing to do a day, and I put it out there saying, this course will change your life if you do it, thinking, I really hope it does what it says. And within the first 7 days, I had someone come back to me and say, this course has changed my life. And I was like, yes, this is amazing.
What kind of platform did you put that out? What kind of course was that?
Do you know, I just did it through Facebook and through email. In fact, the first one was just done through Facebook. It was a private Facebook group. So this, like, if you're a beginner, you don't need to have fancy, expensive technology. Like, it doesn't need to be, I think people put too many barriers up. I have to have this, I have to have this. It needs
to be a proper course, perfectly filmed, and like, invest a lot of money into it.
Yeah, no, just do it.
So how did you run it then?
So
was it pre-recorded stuff?
No, somebody said to me, it might have been my daughter, might have been someone else, I can't recall, said to me, sell your course before you make your course. As you know, you got to know what it's like. I'm not going to say I'm going to do an engineering course. I know nothing about engineering, but so I knew I had the content in my head. I just hadn't verbalized it or written it down.
You gauged interest first. It's like, I know that from Tim Ferriss' the 4 Hour Work Week. It's like before you. I think the example that he brought was if somebody came back and wearing a French sailor T-shirt, these black white stripe thingies. And then lots of people came up and it's like, oh my god, where can I get a shirt like that? So he's like, But before you go into production and produce hundreds of shirts and then you're sitting on them because actually it was only those 5 people that really wanted them.
Yes.
It's like, well, you test the market, right?
Yes.
So you actually create a website and you sell something before you've actually produced the goods, and you just say, well, it's going to take 6 weeks delivery time. You know, and if you get enough interest, you produce and ship it out, and if you don't get enough interest, you give everybody their money back.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that was a similar concept, like you just tested who would be up for it.
Absolutely.
How did you do that?
Well, to be honest, I was already a big personality on social media. You know, I always putting
big personality.
Putting things
Super
out.
active, yeah.
Yes, yeah. So engaging, you know, a lot of connections, and obviously I'm not from the UK originally, so I have a lot of friends in New York and a lot of friends worldwide. And so they were used to seeing me show up on social media. So suddenly when I had something, it does help, because I have some clients who they want to make money immediately, and I'm like, we need to actually get you seen before people need to know who you are.
Right, so you've done a lot of the groundwork already just by being that person that likes to connect with people and keeps their networks alive and fresh and connecting with people.
And this is something I realized as well when people have come to me over the years wanting me to teach them how to do it. One of the key ingredients, like, you can't guarantee anyone results, because a key ingredient online is that you need to have a presence there. You need to be known, and people need to like you and be following you.
So what kind of advice would you give a coach, or how would you work with a coach who says, like, look, I'm a mega introvert. By the way, I'm quite an introvert. It's not like it takes effort for me to be out there in a way, but there's ways that I could make it happen. But like, if there's somebody, and I had a client like that the other day, it's like, look, I don't like to be seen. I don't like to be on social media. I don't like to share everything about my life. What would you say to that kind of person?
I think, you know, you can build something quite successfully offline as well. You don't need to be online, but I do think online you need to be willing to put yourself out there. And there are 3 ways you want to be delivering content in the online space to build your credibility, and that's, you want to educate, you want to entertain, and you want to inspire people. So I do think I would share stories about myself as well, and some people are very private and they don't want to share things about themselves, but I didn't mind. I'm not talking about, like, you know, oh, I was abused as a child kind of stuff. Some people put big stories like that, but I didn't put big stories, but just aspects of my life, like my husband and I are on holiday, and, you know, look, I've caught an octopus or whatever it is. And people feel like they know you then. And then you become like, and then you start giving them value as well. You talk about your expert area, so they know you they feel like they know you as a person. You talk about your expert area, you drop some, you know, inspirational things in there as well. So you've got, you know, 3 ways to engage with them. So someone who doesn't want to be seen, use those 3 things. If you really don't want to be seen, maybe the online space is not for you, and that's fine. It's accepting as well that it's not for everyone, and you can be equally as successful offline. You don't need to be online. I just like to be present online.
Yeah, exactly. So if you have that naturally, it will be easy for you. But like, if you don't have that, think about those things, and like, you don't have to share your deepest vulnerabilities. You don't have to share that you just had a huge fight in your relationship or how you screwed up in college. You know, but like, you don't need to do that in order to show what your values are and what you believe in. And like, you can, what was it? Entertain, educate, and inspire.
That's it.
Yeah, you can do those things. Some people are naturally entertaining. You know, but like, you don't have to force yourself to crack jokes on social media if that's not your thing.
If it's not naturally occurring,
So it's like, well, who are you, and how can you show up authentically, even if it's not the thing that you would naturally do? You know, you can do that. You can put yourself out there and be seen without it being so intrusive on your personal life.
Absolutely. Right? And another thing as well is video is such a popular media form at the moment. So if you're on social media and you're not doing Facebook Lives or not doing Instagram Lives or even going on LinkedIn and doing lives, you're missing a huge opportunity, because whenever, I mean, my own data on Facebook, I'm a Facebooker, that's my main thing. And I'd say, another thing I'd say is, because there's so many social media platforms, choose 2. Use one as your number one, the one you love with all your heart, and then the second one is like your backup. You don't need to be an expert in all of them, just master 2 of them.
But on that note, I've just been listening to Gary V's Crushing It, Gary Vaynerchuk. that was an amazing insight into how different platforms operate and what are their pros, what are their cons. You know, it really helped me to decide on what they're about and which one would be most conducive to what I want to do.
Yes.
Because I think it depends a bit on your character, what kind of social network you relate to.
Yeah,
you know,
I
some
agree.
people love the short-livedness of Twitter and being able to hack other conversations and be part of all of these conversations. You know, other like Facebook more because it's less restrictive in terms of how much video you can upload or what the format is.
Yes.
You're not restricted in word count.
Yeah.
I have that on LinkedIn. Some of my posts I want to copy to LinkedIn and it's just there's less work.
It's too long.
You know, it's like, and then I hate editing and it's like... But at the same time, on LinkedIn, I'm not holding back posting a lot of work stuff.
Yes,
You know, whereas on Facebook, I'm a bit more careful because like it's not just work colleagues that I have on Facebook or, you know, people who are in the coaching world, but it's also friends and family, and I don't want to bombard them with my newest offer for my online course.
Yeah.
You know, so it's that was interesting to listen to Crushing It and just get an overview over the landscape.
Yeah, I agree, and I listened to Crushing It as well, and it did solidify to me as well why certain platforms are better. But I think he said Facebook remains the juggernaut of all social media platforms. So if people think Facebook is dead, it's still very much...
Yes, he said, don't underestimate Mark Zuckerberg. He's like bringing stuff back in, because a couple of times people have said, people are moving on to Instagram, and like Instagram's probably the hottest one right now.
Yeah.
But like Facebook will be there for a while.
Yeah.
You know, so it's gonna be strong for a while. I think so too.
Yeah. No, absolutely. I mean.
Yeah. No. Sorry.
No. I was just gonna say, you know, Facebook ads are still like the king of all social media advertising platforms as well.
And then the cheapest one, right? You get the most, bang for your buck. Like it's the cheapest one in terms of clicks per 1,000 impressions.
Yeah, it's getting a little bit more expensive, but it's definitely, you do get more bang for your buck with the Facebook ads. Right. But you don't even need to run ads. If you can learn how to organically grow your audience. I built my 6-figure business organically on Facebook. I did paid ads, but they didn't convert for me. They didn't convert into clients. In fact, I'm glad you're sitting down. I spent over £15,000 on Facebook ads between July and November 2018.
That's quite an investment.
Yes, and I got 2 clients. One turned out to be less than ideal, so it didn't work out with her, and I probably got 8,000 return on investment from 15,000 in ads.
Wow.
So
What did you learn from this? Because this is great, because maybe other people don't have to invest that much not getting a return.
Yeah.
Well, what are some of your lessons there before we go back to your first
No, that's great. Happy to talk about that because it was an expensive lesson for me. I guess I'd like to say I don't regret it. No, I don't regret it. It was a good learning curve, and it reinforced to me that you can grow an audience, you can grow a business. I think you can get to 6 figures organically without paid ads. I probably got too big for my boots. I had, a good regular income coming in from my clients, and I was paying out for these ads every month. And I kept being told, just hold on. It's all going to happen. It's all going to happen. Number one, I didn't need to be I was spending £1,500 just on the ad spend. Plus I was paying the guy for his time.
Right.
You could go in and spend $5 or $10 on an ad and assess whether that's giving you a good return before you start investing big money. I went in too quickly spending big money.
Right.
But he was
jumping in with 2 feet.
Yes, yeah, exactly. But he was telling me that he needed a $1,500 ad spend so that he could test things properly. Wow. But then somebody else would tell me completely opposite. You only need to spend a few dollars before you can see if things are working.
That's what I hate about it. You seem to be getting so many conflicting
and
sometimes mutually exclusive views on the same matter. There's so many strategies out there.
Yes, yeah. And then when I looked back over my history, I had done some paid ads for, because I ran some live events, and those paid ads actually got me a few people coming to my live events. So my few dollars that I spent probably got me a bigger return on investment than the $15,000 that I spent on ads.
So you would recommend to start small, test things out?
Yeah, start small. You don't even need you don't need to hire an ads person. You can build your reputation. If you are present on at least one platform, really learn how to work that platform. Find someone who is working that platform really well and follow them. If they're too far above you, read their book, listen to their podcast, whatever. If they're accessible to you, get into their world, find out what you can find out about them, attend their workshops, and if you can be mentored by them, be mentored by them. Just learn everything you can learn about that platform.
So what were you advertising back then? Because you mentioned like a mini course, but you also have the coaching services for other coaches.
Yes.
Can you talk a little bit about what you were advertising?
So what happened? The evolution, and this is what I always say to my clients: where you start is not where you end up. It was an evolutionary process. So I started in late 2016. I started doing my coaching online, and then 2017 I spent most of that year doing coaching, doing this 21-day program. What happened with the I'll go back to that for a second. I did the 21-day program, and I was working with a business mentor at the time. It was the second business mentor I hired. And in pure frustration, my first business mentor had said to me, I want you to just go for high ticket clients, like try and close people at least £1,000. But the thing that I didn't know at the time, Yannick, was number one, how to have a sales call. Number two, I wasn't even clear what my product was that I was selling. So I'm getting people on the phone, and I didn't know critical things. I didn't know who my ideal client, I just didn't know all these essential elements. And so in pure frustration one night, I just sat down. Just
to jump in, could you share some of those essential elements? Or, I mean, they might just...
Yeah, I'll talk to you about them. Yeah, no, I'll tell you specifically what I believe people need to do.
Fantastic.
Because I've developed my own signature system now, which includes all of these elements that I think are essential to get yourself moving. So I was missing all of these elements. So in pure frustration, I sat down at my computer one night, and I put on Facebook a post that was basically saying, so one of the things that this other mentor had said, go for the high ticket clients, had also told me was go for 100 no's.
Wow, okay.
Right? And I liked that. And I did it because I'm like, you told me to do it, I'm going to do it. So I went for 100 no's, and I believe I had 88 phone calls in a short space of time. I was just getting on call after call after call after call.
Well,
but
how did you get the numbers?
Do you know, I got involved with... I was making offers on Facebook. I was saying, are you struggling with, would you like to talk about, and making these opportunities, creating these opportunities for people to say, yes, I'd love to speak to you about that. So I was getting on all these calls. In addition to that.
So that was through your own Facebook network, and you just here's something I'm offering. Did you have any idea about, was there a sales process in what you put out there? Did you explore, did you focus on a specific problem that people were having, or did you target a certain niche or something?
I was doing just coaching,
Anything.
Just coaching, yeah. I just didn't understand the business process of identifying who you want to serve, what's the problem that you solve, and these are the things that I know are essential now.
But you were getting lots of numbers to call. I wonder what you put out there,
because
so that people said yes.
Yeah, it was things like, do you want to talk about how you can change any limitations that you have, just so very, very general stuff.
Step into your power, become more authentic, live the life you always wanted. We've seen these out there, right?
Yes,
they're very broad, they're quite vague, but they're definitely appealing.
Yes, well, people will connect with them because, and plus I was a big personality, so I had a lot of people, and I also, I got involved with a lot of network marketers. And they tend to have big communities. So when a leader in network marketing takes a liking to you, their tribe will tend to follow you as well. Right. So I was picking up lots of followers just from that as well, just from connecting with some of the leaders.
So these are personal relationships with people in network marketing. What does he have?
Network marketing. Yeah. Right. So there's lots of network marketing companies out there, multi-level marketing.
Are they kind of pyramid schemes.
Yeah, I mean, they don't like to be called pyramid schemes, but
because that's illegal. But network marketing is okay.
Well, it's not a, people do really well with it. Some people do really well with it. And the leaders tend to be really well respected, and so when they say, this is good, I like this.
Right, they have a huge reach.
They have, huge.
They have these communities, and everybody's super committed.
Absolutely.
Okay, I see.
So, I was getting invitations to do guests, like to do talks in these groups, so going into other people's groups, so creating opportunities there, like doing a Facebook Live in a group, and then saying if anyone wants to get on a call with me, and then suddenly my inbox would be going crazy with, I want to get on a call with you, I want to get on a call, I want to get on a call.
It's very much networking with the right people who have those kind of communities.
Yes.
And these were personal friends, or were there relationships?
No, they're people that I would have met online. Again, it's just, I guess it's like being magnetic online. It's like it's allowing your personality to come through. It comes back again. Like I've always had a big personality, so I've always attracted other people to me, and even when I'm active in other people's groups. So this is the way some of it works. When you are active on your own Facebook page, so Facebook being my number one platform. If I talk about the webinar that I'm going to have, or my weekend away with my husband, whatever, entertain, educate, inspire, that's always evident on my Facebook feed, so you can scroll through and anybody knows what I'm doing. And then I'm active in somebody else's group, and I don't even have to sell anything in that group. I can just be giving some value about positive psychology or business advice, and then people will go, oh, I really liked her energy. They come over to look at my Facebook page, and what do they see? Oh, she's got a webinar on this week. Oh, she's got this course started. And then they're opting into everything. So it becomes this sort of circle of, just being active, being seen everywhere, and then they come back to your profile, check you out, which is why I keep your profile to... In my opinion, I know you said, I've got family and friends and I don't want to bombard them with information about my business. I think a couple of years ago I took a view that I can keep my friends and family off of not off, but I'm going to use this free platform as a way to promote my business. I'm not going to worry. If people find it offensive, they can unfriend me and we can still be friends outside of here. But I'm going to use this opportunity to have a global reach.
Right, yeah. I mean, I still say that about Facebook, is when people say like, oh, Facebook this or Facebook that. Well, it really depends how you want to use it.
Yes.
Some people use Facebook as the name implies. It's a book full of faces that you've met along your way.
Yes.
It's just like they would add anybody just because they've met them once.
Yes.
And they wouldn't add anybody if they hadn't met them.
Yes.
Other people say, look, I'm going to use this as a work platform to push what I'm passionate about,
Yes.
And yes, my work is also my personality, but yes, I am going to put everything I do professionally out there on Facebook. And yes, I might also have a page, but everybody who's connected with me on Facebook knows that. You know, so if you're somebody who wants to use Facebook as not professionally, then, well, that's maybe not your platform then,
Yes.
Maybe you can make an Instagram platform that is only about your business, or maybe you do a Facebook page. And that's something that I've done now. It's like, as I was doing more and more of my professional stuff on my personal Facebook, I am connected with a lot of coaches, but I also am connected with people who might not be so interested in what I sell.
Yes.
So I now use my page a lot more than I used to. I didn't have a page until, 6 months ago maybe.
Oh really? Wow.
Yeah, no, because I'm I'm a person, and I don't distinguish between what I do personally and what I do professionally, because they're so merged. But I wanted to run some advertising for the Positive Psychology online course.
Right.
So I'm like, well, I'm going to have to have a page, because apparently a normal person can't advertise.
Yes.
You have to have a page for that.
A business page,
So in the beginning, I'm just I created it, and then I ran some advertising, and then the occasional post that was I felt was a bit too salesy. I just did over the other one, but now they're merging a little bit more.
Yeah.
So I'm okay, it's actually now with my business page, I don't have to worry about whether it's too much, because it's designed to sell services and to offer value and to engage people through the professional work.
Yes.
So I think there was a bit of an evolution, and I would encourage anybody out there to look for their own evolution. It's like, well, what do I want to use Facebook for? What do I want to use any platform? What do I want to use Twitter for? You know, do I want to have conversations about the sports team I'm passionate about, or am I going to push my business with it? You know, and in a way you're always pushing yourself, and I think the more synergy you have between your business and your personal life, the better it is for you. But I appreciate it takes a certain open personality to put your values and your beliefs and your worldview out there. So I think people need to make that decision for themselves, how they use their social media platforms.
Yeah, I agree. So, 21-day program. I was with my second business mentor. I sat at my kitchen table, and I got so fed up with having all these calls and nobody buying anything from me. I put a rather long post together that said, I've had so many phone calls with people. You all say you want coaching. Nobody has the money for coaching. It was just like, you know, you bunch of bastards. You all say you want this, and
but
it was a rant, but it was, you know, warm and friendly. Like, you know, I think people could imagine me saying it. And I said, look, I've put together this 21-day program. Basically, if you don't buy it, I never want to speak to you again, because I had so many calls with people. I said to my business mentor, I said, I want to sell 100 places. And he said, I don't think you're going to sell 100 places.
Wow.
And he said, go for 75. And then so I lost my confidence in selling 100 places. And I thought, oh, if he only thinks 75, maybe I'll just go for 50. And I went for 50. And so I sold 47 places on this 21-day program.
Wow.
So it just fell short of 50. And then the next time around, through a Facebook Live, I spoke about the 21-day program. I got invited to speak in someone else's group, a network marketing group. And the next day, after I spoke in her group and told them about my 21-day program, I sold 150 places on my program. So now this 21-day program, these 21 pounds are starting to add up to significant sums. And in addition to that, there were people who were naturally more curious about what else I could offer them. So it became a natural evolution for me to then create another level of program where people could have more of me.
Right.
For £21, they were not getting one-to-one, you know, hour-long sessions. They were getting bite-sized chunks of positive psychology and law of attraction stuff.
Right, and you sent that, you would post it in the private group.
In the private
or you
group,
would send that out by email, but it was automated, or...
No, it wasn't even automated. And so the first course, coming back to the point of you don't need to create your course first, sell it first. I did it one day at a time. I only knew one day in advance what I was doing the next day.
Right.
I'd be like, oh my God, what am I doing tomorrow? Okay, let's talk about this tomorrow.
Wow.
And it still turned into being a life-changing course because I had so much content in my head that was just ready to come out. I knew what it needed to look like. And so the invitation to people every day was, 6 o'clock in the morning, whatever time of day, you're going to get that post in the Facebook group, read the post, do the activity, and then comment on how you got on as a result of doing that. So we had all the engagement going on in the group, and, it turned into an amazing opportunity. It was the birth of my business that I know now. Yeah.
Very cool. I want to pick up on something you said earlier, because you said, well, you put it out there, this course is going to change your life.
Yeah.
And like the feeling of like, well, I hope it does. What was going through my mind is I think maybe listeners to this would also think is like, well, how can I say that genuinely when the program doesn't even exist yet and nobody has gone through it? Isn't that like one of these marketing things?
Yes and no. Because what I put in this course was some of the most powerful exercises that were personally transformational to me.
Right.
Things that meant, like, day one, fall in love with meditation. Meditation has changed my life.
Changed many people's lives.
Yeah, so I'm like, if you take up a practice of meditation and you do it on a regular basis, it will change your life.
Because it changed mine,
yes.
It will change yours.
Yes. And then I think day 2 or 3 is a practice of gratitude. If you practice gratitude on a regular basis, it will change your life.
Can you make that assumption to a degree where you can, because it sounds like a guarantee.
I think it is a guarantee. I think it's pretty guaranteed because I don't think there's enough appreciation for the value of gratitude.
Mm-hmm.
I speak to plenty of people who still feel that there's not that much to be grateful for. And I think, so you're talking to me remotely while you're in America through this connection,
Yeah.
while you're sitting in the comfort of your home, drinking the coffee, telling me that there's nothing to be grateful for. And so we just bring it back to,
Yeah, I mean, you're forming a thought and expressing it through language, and we understand each other. You know, you took a picture, translated it to thoughts, translated that into words, and then communicated that to me, and I did the same backwards, and now we're That's fucking amazing. The fact that you're breathing is miraculous.
I just got chills, yes, just got chills, yes.
So, yes,
Yeah.
but somebody might not be open for that, but I think if 21 days you tap into all of these different areas from positive psychology, some of that, I mean, even if you're not the kind of person who's gonna become a meditator, even though there's so much space and so many different approaches, even if gratitude is not your thing, even if you might not do more physical exercise, some of that, if you put some of that, only 15% of that into action, some of that is probably going to change your life. So I can see your angle, and I can see why you can say that with conviction. Mm-hmm.
And there's a certain level, you have to have a level of certainty when you're putting something out there anyway. So I wouldn't put something out there about something I didn't feel like I'm the embodiment of that. I can tell you that I've put these things into practice and they've worked for me. And you're absolutely right about putting just one small thing. And I say that at the beginning of the course. I'm like, you won't love every single one of these exercises. Do the ones that you love. Mm-hmm. In fact, it's your duty when you do the ones that you love to share them with other people too, because it's rude to keep it to yourself. When you're making it's made a positive impact on you. Share, and that one of the tasks is, I think it's like day 16, what's been the favorite thing, the best thing you've learned so far? Go and teach that to somebody else. Go and to teach it to someone who you believe would benefit, not like shove it down their throat, but gently introduce this idea.
I think that's really powerful because like not only will they pass it forward and that feels good, but only they are more likely to tell other people about your thing. You know, and I think something else you touched on that is super, super important, I just want to underline it and highlight it, is that security, that certainty. My first business mentor told me, Yannick, you need to be more certain about stuff, you know, when you talk about your coaching and the results. And I'm like, well, I'm an existentialist. I believe in the uncertainty of everything. How can I be certain about anything if I can't really do that philosophically? But then he questioned me and challenged me a little bit more, and I realized there are a lot of things that I can actually be certain about, and I can change my language a little bit. For example, now I say confident more than I say certain.
Right,
because I do believe that there's nothing that we can be certain about really.
Yeah.
But most people don't care about the terminology about the word certain. But like when I say I'm confident that you can do this, you know, I'm confident that this is going to happen. Yes. I can speak now with certainty because I realized, well, I can guarantee that I give you my full attention and I'm going to do everything in my power to help you reach your goals.
Yes.
You know, I can guarantee that, you know, my space is powerful and I've seen a ton of people transform their lives. You know, I can say a lot of things with certainty that previously I hadn't really dared to say with that kind of certainty.
That's great.
And for me, it was a little thing of like, well, I can say that with confidence. You know, I still can't say a lot of things with certainty because, like, well, life is uncertain. That's just one of its elements. It's just statisticity, one of its givens. But I can be really confident about things based on my experience or based on other coaches' previous experience, based on research from positive psychology. Yeah. I can tell you that, I mean, in psychology, and you know that many of those who didn't study research, they might not know that. In social sciences, we have this 95% confidence interval, which means that in research, it's good enough to be 95% confident that you're going to get a certain outcome.
Yes.
And notice the language, a certain outcome, but like some outcome, a specific outcome. If we are 95% confident, then that's good enough for research. So why wouldn't it be good enough for us when we talk about our work? Because ultimately in coaching, it depends on the client. Yeah. They need to do most of the work. You know, so
absolutely.
So we cannot be certain that something's going to happen if we can't control our clients.
Completely.
But I can say that I'm confident. I can be almost certain. I can almost guarantee you that this is going to happen if you fully immerse yourself in the program, if you challenge yourself to go outside of your comfort zone, if you show up and you do the work between sessions, if you keep reflecting, if you go and find a mentor, talk to other people, if you put the legwork in, I can almost guarantee you that you will be where you want to be.
Yes.
So with this kind of certainty, I can now speak. I just need to figure out a way to word it so that I don't feel like I'm manipulating or I'm lying or I'm deceiving or I'm promising too much.
I think you've just said it beautifully, though.
Yeah, exactly.
And that's actually...
But I had to learn that.
Okay, great. That's actually in my contract with my clients that I can't... Coming back to this idea that I know that through social media I built my business, but I also know that there were certain things in place first and foremost, and that I was already an established personality. So I know that unless they have that established personality, it might take them longer to do that.
I think it's important that we are all established personalities in specific circles. You've already been that kind of person that put herself out there on social media and connecting with people all over the place. I think for a lot of the coaches that are struggling, they're struggling to be that personality in the first place. So I think that's really important to know that you are an established personalities, but your circle might be very, very small. So start thinking about, well, how can I take my established personality of the people who know me? What do they know me as? What are my strengths? What do I know that is inspiring or educating? How can I take that and expand my circle and expand my reach? And social media is absolutely fantastic in terms of a tool to expand your reach. So that's an art in itself, to just expand your reach, right?
And you can actually, you don't need to just accept anyone as friends. Like, I'll use Facebook because it's my favorite platform, but you can curate your list of friends. That you don't need to just accept anyone. You can be more selective in who you're having on there. So as soon as you start adding some new people who seem relevant, maybe people who are your peers, maybe people who are operating at a higher level, maybe people who are aspirational to get to where you are, adding people like that is just going to Facebook will continue to recommend people along those lines. So you'll be expanding your network that way. And don't be afraid to expand your network, because you can delete people. That we're always going to get weirdos who turn up in the online space and who end up sending you messages in your inbox. You can just delete them. I think a lot of people are so afraid to put themselves out there because they're going to attract weirdos, but just you can be selective. You don't need to just take anybody on board.
Yeah, right. And how much time do you spend on social media on your phone?
Far too much.
What does that mean?
I would like to get that app that measures how much time you spend on there. I spend a lot of time on there. Wow, I'm trying to think now to quantify it, because I do so much on there. Oh, I don't even know. I can't even put a figure on it at the moment, but I've needed to take a couple of digital detox breaks in the last 6 months, where I've gone away and I've put my phone away for a few days and not touched it, but I've had to do a lot of pre-warning of people that I was not going to be accessible, because a lot of my clients will contact me. So even if I'm not actively doing something, I'll get a ping from a client, and because I work a lot with premium level clients, I'm accessible to them. I want to give them the best level of service. So, and then they might contact me through Messenger, Facebook Messenger. So, excuse me. So I'm quite accessible on there. I think I need to check. I need to do that. There's an app, isn't there, that checks how much time
somebody
you're on
recommended
there.
that to me. I wonder. Well, I'll find out and try to put it in the show notes. But yeah, that's. I heard it's scary.
Yes, yeah, but I think it should be a good marker of whether you are spending too much time and what actually constitutes too much time when you're building business. And this is an interesting point as well, that I do think that you need to invest. Some people like, if it doesn't flow, it's not where you're meant to go. However, I do think that you've got to put a good bit of work in to get the ball rolling. I don't think
As in, like, you need some persistence in the
Yes,
beginning.
yeah.
If it doesn't work straight away, it doesn't mean that it's not working, right?
Yeah,
You need to play the long game.
Yeah, so people are like, hang on, it's not flowing, and it's like, well, are you making a consistent effort? Are you showing up every day? You're doing something every single day. So I think that, I guess if you had like a water pump, and you know the water will come eventually, but you need to pump the pump until the water comes. So
how long do you need to pump? Like, if somebody would want to give social media a really good shot, what kind of time period would you recommend where afterwards, if it doesn't work for you that way, you either haven't revisited your strategies properly, or maybe it's just not for you?
You can do it quite quickly if you go in with a very focused approach. You could start building. I've seen people come in 2 or 3 months really start building a solid reputation. I saw someone do something very, very clever the other day. He went into a group where there's, 15,000 coaches and asked a question that was relevant for just about everybody in the group. So he had a few hundred replies, to which he then replied to every single person, then added me as a friend and asked me some questions, and I could see exactly what he's doing. He's come in as a newcomer who helps people accelerate their business growth, has stepped into a group where there are people who probably want to accelerate their business growth, dropped some golden nuggets in there, and built his network like that. So this is in a matter of weeks he's done this.
Yeah, and I've seen some of those people. Some do it very cleverly, some do it very blatantly silly. Some of those groups are very well moderated, some are not so well moderated. It's an interesting game. But also some are genuinely providing value, and other genuinely just want to sell their packages. So there's so many people out there in that space doing it. What do you think you can do in order to stick out from all of the sharks, so to speak, who just want to sell their packages to people in those groups?
First of all, I think just be willing to make mistakes. Like, so many people are afraid of failure. Like, if you're not failing, you're not learning. You've got to fail forward. Fail fast, fail forward.
Gotta get thrown out of at least a couple of groups, yeah?
Yes, exactly. If you're not cringing, in a year's time, if you're not cringing about what you're doing now, you haven't learned anything. So you've got to do something that's going to make you cringe. You've got to look back at your old Facebook posts and think, did I really say that?
Talking about comfort zone and getting out of that in order to make things happen.
And sometimes, I've tried things. I've put things out there and I'm like, oh, I don't like that. Like, a mentor would say, try this, and I'd put something out, I'd be like, oh, I really don't like that. And people would love it, and I think, oh no, it still doesn't, intuitively it doesn't feel right to me, so I'd take it out. But, so what was the question again? It was about failing forward. Why did I say failing forward?
No, because how to create, how long do you need to keep going with social media before you can either give it up, like maybe it's not for me. It's like, if somebody's trying for 6 months to make social media work for them, and they still hate it, maybe it kind of works for them, but they still hate doing it.
Yeah, I do think that it represents what you're like in your normal life as well, that if you tend to be not very social and not very out there, you're not likely to pick up a lot of, it's a representation of you. It's just another way that you're representing your personality. And it's not a crime to not be a big personality on social media, but I would give it between 3 and 6 months, because that's when I start to see real changes. Show up. Oh, people go like, oh, I'll put a post once a week. I'm like, once a week? Oh no. I'm like, I said, when you start getting sick of seeing yourself, that's when people are just starting to notice you.
Right.
So you got to keep showing up. And now the Facebook algorithm is like, if you put something today, I might not see it till Friday. And it's showing up as if it's new. And I'm like, this is like 4 days old. So this is the new algorithm that's happening as well.
Okay.
So you got to show up every day. But there are ways that you can show up without showing up. You can schedule posts. You can hire people who you can have your content written and then you can outsource that so somebody can be posting on your behalf. What you don't want to do though is post. It's called post and ghost. You don't want to post and then just, if people start replying, you're not there to respond to that. Yeah.
You can do that once you're very, very famous and you don't want to get exposed to all of the hate. I saw Joe Rogan teach that to Neil deGrasse Tyson, because Neil deGrasse Tyson was suffering. You know, he had these movie reviews from a scientific standpoint, and then he was like criticizing some of the movies that had came out, including like Gravity or Star Wars or something. And he got a lot of shit on Twitter.
Yeah.
And he's like, I'm not doing that anymore because there's too much shit out there, like too many haters. And Joe Rogan was like, Neil, you just need to tweet and drop. just tweet your thoughts, don't look at it anymore. But I think in the early stages when you're trying to build an audience, it's more the Gary Vee attitude of like reply to every single comment that you get. That's how you start building relationships.
But more than that as well, the more, I think it's the first 20 minutes, it might have changed, but right now it's like the first 20 minutes, if you get, it's the first hour, if you get 20 comments in the first hour, Instagram, Facebook, and LinkedIn will push it out to a wider audience. So that's why even if you comment, even if like your comment then constitutes a valid comment.
Oh, that's interesting.
So someone will say, "Hey, great job," whatever. So there are.
So you're doubling your comments just by saying thank you,
yes,
and then the algorithm pushes this out.
And now I'm going to give you a little social media hack here.
Uh-huh.
So people have on Facebook and on, I think actually on all the platforms, they've got things like, they're called pods, where you have a group of people who boost each other's stuff so that it goes out to more people. So it's going to be seen by more people. So your pod would just put comments there so that you get greater exposure.
Okay, so you can actually support each other as coaches, like strategically.
Yes, yeah.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
Okay. What would be the next good question to ask from me?
So you asked me originally, what are some of the things that people need to be thinking about in terms of growing their business? And the things that I didn't realize at the time, when I was charging £50 an hour for coaching and I was waiting for people to come knocking on my door, the things that I didn't know is, number one, I wouldn't ever sell one single coaching session. I would sell a package. You sell an outcome for people now rather than... I didn't realize that I needed an ideal client. I needed somebody whose problem I could solve. So you want to be able to solve one person's problem. And the clearer you can get on the problem that you solve, the more you can direct your marketing message to that person. You need to have a marketing message as well. You need to clarify how you want to communicate to that person. So, and then you want to be able to get that person on a call, and you're going to have, if you're a novice, you're going to have a lot of really sloppy sales calls, and that's okay. I actually had feedback the other day from someone, hadn't spoken to him for a couple of years, and he said to me, can I give you some feedback from 2 years ago when we were like in this same group? And I said, sure. And he said, a couple of the women thought you were really pushy, and I'm like, that's cool feedback from 2 years ago. I'm not the same person I was, an hour ago when I walked into the room with you. So I'm like, that's fine. That's who I was then. You're gonna have it's like dating. You're gonna kiss a lot of frogs before you find your prince or princess or king or queen. It's the same thing. And the more you do it, the more you're gonna realize who your ideal client is not. The more you're gonna realize your worth. The more you're gonna realize who you want to serve, the more you're going to realize exactly what your zone of genius is, and then you can focus just purely on that. And also give yourself permission to evolve and change into something else. That if you start with something, you don't have to stay there forever. Your ideal client group can evolve and change as you evolve and change. People go, oh my God, I just got this clear, but actually this doesn't make me feel passionate anymore. And everything is energy, and if you're not energetically aligned with what you're doing, people are going to feel it, and they're not going to want to work with you.
So the same thing, like go out there, challenge yourself, fall a lot, and be prepared. And actually it's necessary to try a lot of stuff out and cringe here and be a disaster on the call, because you reflect on it, like afterward, I think that's important. It's not just like go out there and fall and then get back up, but like think about why you fell and what happened there. Is there something I can improve? Maybe that wasn't the right client. Like, what can I learn from this disaster just now? Or this thing that didn't go as well as it could have? And figure out what can I use that? How can I use that in order to make this whole process work better, right?
And that's such a good point, and that's another reason to work with a mentor as well. I'm a firm believer that we all need, certainly in the early stages, a mentor, because when we're feeling like, oh my God, did I really just do that on a call? You want someone to say, yeah, and I did that too on a call, or just to reassure you that it's a normal part of the process and this is how you can do it differently in the future. And you will have disastrous calls. It's a rite of passage. You have to have disastrous calls. And in 2018, one of my valuable lessons, because I did what I said I was going to do and created a 6-figure business, but some of the things I compromised along the way was I had clients approach me, people who wanted to work with me, and if I didn't feel energetically aligned with them, if I didn't feel good about working with them, I would ask the question, do you believe this is what you're meant to be doing? And if they said yes, which they did, I would think to myself, okay, well, who am I to judge that they shouldn't be doing this? Intuitively, I knew they shouldn't have been doing it. I could tell you every single one of the clients that didn't work out last year, I shouldn't have took them on. Like, I know the ones I shouldn't have took on.
So you trust that intuition when you feel this is mismatched. They're willing to pay me a lot of money, but if it's mismatched, I don't feel it's right for them, then you shouldn't go working with them because chances are it isn't.
Yes, but I didn't trust myself enough. And I guess, A, I didn't trust myself enough. B, it's an exciting prospect that someone wants to pay you a few £1,000 to come on your program. And C, I asked the question, do you believe this is what you're meant to be doing? And I guess I didn't have the, maybe, I wouldn't say confidence, but what I should have said is, I don't believe this is the right thing for you. Working with me is not the right thing for you. But I learned so much from taking on the less than ideal clients, because they cost me more in emotional terms than it did in financial terms. And I think we all have to go through this rite of passage of having the nightmare client, who probably thinks I was the nightmare coach and mentor as well, on the road to finding who you really want to work with.
Talking about coaching and mentoring, I've heard various stories about business mentors. Some from like, this person has single-handedly changed my life by giving me the strategy that I was looking for. You know, sometimes just a mentor saying like, look, I've been there, I've done this, it worked a treat, and then you do it and it works a treat. But also to the other side of the spectrum of like business mentors who have been really pushy and like in a way that is like, look, I figured out the way to run your business and you can do it like me or you can fail. You know, and I've seen some people, some coaches who are now very successful, and they were like, well, one of my business mentors, he didn't get me. I needed to do business my way, the authentic way, and the genuine way, and it just took longer and it was working in a different way. But like, they made me feel like I'm definitely gonna fail if I don't do it like they think is right. So there's a whole spectrum of business mentoring. Some has a big coaching element of like helping you to figure out how to run your own business in your own way. But there's also the very instructional, leading, guiding kind of business mentor, where I feel it's kind of a hit and miss depending on how much they kind of get you or how much you are able to accept or reject what they put on the table. So I just wanted to see what your thoughts were around business mentoring and if there's any tips for people who might want to choose one.
I think that's such a great question, and I will reflect on my previous experience as well in 2017. So I've hired a number of mentors over the years, and I worked with a particular mentor who gave me a model that I followed that helped me get to 6 figures, but it was 6 figures and I didn't feel, I was kind of out of alignment. Like I said, I was taking clients that were less than ideal.
By the way, how much of the 6 figures did you reinvest in making the 6
lot.
figures happen?
A lot. So let me think. So 10. Actually, probably 25,000. So 2018, I made 115,000 pounds, and yeah, probably 25,000 went back into the business. Maybe a little bit more. Maybe let's say 30. So what, like 80?
So around a quarter.
Yeah. And you've got to. My belief system is you've got to invest. You can't do it alone. This is what I witness a lot of people doing, and I was one of these people. There's so many beautiful things to opt into. This freebie. But there's no consistency with opting into everybody's freebies. It's all a lead generator to get you to the next level with them. But people think that they can opt into all these freebies and then put the puzzle together themselves. I would say find someone that you follow them for a little while. So funny, following people used to be something that you got arrested for, and now you have to follow people up. So find that person that you...
It still is, depending on how.
How, yeah. So find that person that you really feel aligned with. Follow them for a little while. Do your due diligence. And then invest in working with that person. You're not going to get it from opting into all the freebies. You'll get some great quality freebies, but you need someone who can help you sew all the pieces, weave it all together into something that's going to work for you. And coming back to this idea of, some mentors saying, do it my way or you'll fail. Your business is an art, not a science, and it's a co-creation. Your mentor should be extracting the best of what you've got, and they should be giving you the best of what they've got, and together you merge these two brilliant people to create something amazing, something that you can change and evolve. It's never stuck. You can always change your mind about something, but you need to stick with something until you get some traction. People give up too quickly. You have to get some traction. So I would say, as a point, find an ideal client you want to work with and work a strategy for 90 days. And if you don't get traction in 90 days, and that could be measured in, let's say, maybe 2 or 3 sales in 90 days, then it's maybe time to move on. You can use whatever measure you want in that 90 days. Maybe it's you've built up a bigger audience, you've got greater engagement, whatever measure you want. But at least 90 days is going to give you an indication of whether that is a good client group for you. It's the right people. It feels good. You like them. They like you. Yeah,
I think measurement is so important. I'm generally, me personally, I know it works. I struggle more doing it because I'm more of a free-flowing, I do this because it feels right. I have energy for this right now. But every time I did measure the outcomes of what I was trying to do and experimenting with, as a scientist, I know this stuff just works.
Yeah.
Because if you do a certain thing every day for a week on social media, you will be able to measure engagement with you don't even need a business page, but it has really good statistics on Facebook. Yeah. But even if it isn't, you can see how many likes and how many comments, how many sales, and how much time you spend on it, and how much time you get back, how much money is it worth. There's so many ways that we can record stuff, and the people who are very detail oriented will find that much easier. The people who are more big picture like me will find it harder to make those measurements and record outcomes and consequences, results. But we can all do it. It takes more or less energy, but we all are able to record what effects our interventions have. I think that's really useful. If you want to build a business in least amount of time, you're gonna have to take a lot of action, experiment, record, and then do more of what works and less of what doesn't.
Yes, and that's it's such an important point to record, but your intuition is going to be a great guide for you as well. Does this feel right? Have I made any money? Have I made new contacts? Does it feel like the right thing? There are so many ways to measure.
Yeah, and it's easy to do something that feels it's easy to continue doing something that feels wrong but gives good results. And I think that's how some people end up in a situation where they are successful, quote unquote, in terms of they're making good sales, but like it doesn't feel good running their business that way. And then some people decide to just keep doing that because they get the financial success, which might be one of their goals.
Yes.
But other people say, look, I'm going to have less financial success, but everything is going to feel more wholesome. And I think in the long run, when you play the long game, I think what feels authentic and genuine and good is probably going to have the better results if you don't just take money into account. But in the end, surprisingly, or maybe not so surprisingly, also usually result in better financially successful businesses.
Alignment, absolutely.
Quickly going back to the mentors, like I think it's important to have, like, this is good that it's come out of this conversation, it's good to have that contracting conversation with a mentor. Like everybody who's coaching will know about the importance of contracting. You sit down, you figure out what is the space, what can I expect from you, what can you expect from me, how are we going to work together. I think that's a really important question to ask any business mentor that you would consider in terms of, well, how do you work? You know, do you have a system that you know works and you teach it to others? Or like, how would you work with a coach? You know, do you try to figure out how I am and how I could do it? Are you more facilitative? Are you more instructional? Like those kind of conversations before you hire somebody in those kind of consultations, it's really, really important, no?
I agree completely.
Other questions that you would ask a business mentor before you hire them?
I would not be afraid to ask what kind of results they've had for people, and to make sure that your outcome is going to be, you know, if they can qualify that this results happen for this kind of person, and you can see yourself like that person. You know what results were, and you know if they're UK based, you can check their financials as well on like if they're making claims, because there are a lot of people. You said that Forbes is saying that coaching is like the biggest growing 6-figure industry. I think there is a real important point of doing your due diligence and making sure that they are who they say they are. You can check them on Companies House to make sure that their accounts match what they say that they're doing as well.
Like in the UK, you have to get VAT registered over 80k a year.
I think it's 87 now. I've just hit the. This is my first year. Like you have to VAT register. I'm like, I don't know if that's good or bad, but. You know,
it's a bit annoying, but I mean...
It's exciting.
It's a nice thing to complain about, because it meant you made too much money that year. So exciting in that respect. But yeah, do your due diligence. Speak to other clients of theirs as well, people that... don't hesitate to ask to speak to clients, even if they've got testimonials up. Plenty of my clients have spoken to my other clients as well before they've made decisions. What else would you ask them? You just want to make sure that they've succeeded in the same arena that you want to succeed in. They've got your values seem aligned to theirs as well. That's really good advice.
Thank you.
Where's your mind going now? Because there's a couple of things that I'm interested in, but like, first of all, from your experience, what would somebody who's starting out, what do you think is essential for them to know?
I think it's essential for them to know that they're probably gonna, if they're coming to the online space, they're gonna compare themselves to everybody else, and that the best thing that they could do is to stay focused on what matters most to them, because you can get such a sense of despair by comparing yourself to other people. So find the thing that you excel in, and even if you don't think you excel in it because someone else is doing it better than you,
there's always somebody doing it better than you, right?
Yes, but there's an element of trust. Like, you could go into the coaching arena and say, it's saturated, and that's one point of view, but another point of view is that there's somebody for everyone, and that you are going to be an attractive proposition for the people who align with your values, how your operating model, however you show up in the world, because people buy people. So it doesn't matter.
Yes.
Yeah, people buy people.
That's such an important one. When I realized that people buy people, they don't buy services, they don't buy pitches. Like that's why social media is so important. That's why building these relationships are important. I realized at some point that the vast majority of people that sign up for my services, they're people who've had some sort of relationship with me, who've seen me in person or who've consumed a lot of, like, that's why video is so powerful, because they get you. Like I remember before I shot that video for my website, I actually invested quite a lot of money into that, which is not necessary to, because the whole point of a video is that people can catch a vibe. You know, they can get a sense for how you are, not who you are, from a bio or from, you know, text written on your social media platform or from the occasional picture on Instagram or, like, you know, qualifications. None of that matters as much as seeing somebody talking and, like, grasping their vibe. You know, that's why face-to-face contact is so important, because the experience that you have with somebody when you're face-to-face is just creating so much more of a relationship. Physical touch, you know, just like shaking somebody's hand, you know, or a kiss on the cheek. It's like you can sense from, there's so much in the body language that builds trust and rapport. And you can build trust and rapport from reading somebody's blog or from reading somebody's book. But like like Tony Robbins, for example, the first Tony Robbins book I read was fantastic in terms of how that guy builds a relationship without actually being there. You know, just through the written word. You're like, he writes as if he would be speaking to you. You know, and he throws all of these spikes of value in there, and like, but like it's phenomenal how like that relationship building thing is so important, because people do buy people.
What was your first Tony Robbins book? I'm just curious.
The first one was Money. As it came out, because I figured, like, I have a few friends who, like, went into banking and stuff like that, and like they were doing well, and I'm like, I don't really do. I mean, I have some savings now, and like some people were like, oh, it's stupid not to invest it. So I wanted to figure out how to invest it properly, and that's where Money coming out. Before, I had largely kind of ignored a lot of Tony Robbins books or written stuff or seminars, because I always had that in a certain category, and I didn't question it too much. And there's a lot of really inspiring stuff out there, but then I actually started to kind of dig into it, and so I'm like, oh, there's a lot more value to this guy. And then it was interesting sales-wise, and how you get, like, how you build a relationship with somebody, because through the Netflix movie and through that book, I started to get sucked into the Tony Robbins sphere, and I'm like, you're really good. Because I'm not really the guy who goes to unleash your power within or whatever. I don't think I would show up to the seminars. I know enough about them, but like also, I got curious and I wanted to look, and like, wow, this guy is really good at like building a relationship to people and building trust, and like so that was really interesting.
Only because one of my first personal development books ever was Awaken the Giant Within, and that was like 20 plus years ago that I picked it up, and I had this moment of realization that I could think in a different way. Like I didn't need to be a product of everything that I'd grown up believing. So it's powerful.
He's got such good content. He's got so many things that just really work. It's really good content. At the same time, talking about sales and marketing, he's relentless in selling the fantasy and the dream to somebody who might be sitting there broken, mastering the last of their savings in order to take part of this week and expecting a breakthrough. And then all these people around them are having breakthroughs, because if you expect to have a breakthrough so much, you're probably going to have one. The question is, how long is it going to last? Because a lot of what we found is that people who go to these seminars, they come back to more seminars, because it kind of fades. And like, I think the coaching is actually the missing link to making all of this self-help stuff work for you long term and have sustainable results.
I agree, because there's a come down after that, and it's so interesting because UPW was this weekend at wherever it was at the Excel, and I went a couple of years ago, and I think perhaps if you are more seasoned in this stuff, it's not necessarily the big breakthrough. I found myself like, can we talk about this for a moment?
Yeah, absolutely. I think sales-wise it's important, because there's so much selling that is around Tony Robbins. So I think it's useful to give it some context.
So he's absolutely brilliant in that, you know, his work has transformed my life. You know, it was such a catalyst for me to think in a different way. I went to UPW a couple of years ago. I I paid, I think, 700, 750 pounds for the tickets.
Oh, only? I thought it was a lot more expensive.
I got bargain tickets at
All right.
that price. So they were, they were like special rates. And I found it, like, they did this whole, like, one of the days is like called Transformation Day.
Mm-hmm.
And they do this whole thing where, there's 10,000 plus people in the stadium. And he's talking on stage, talking you through this transformation. And I just found myself, like, we're supposed to have our eyes closed. The lights are down. And it was like having all this howling and screaming while he's talking you into this, like, so he's like, it's like they're casting demons out of you.
Wow.
Yeah, that's what it's like. And the room is dark, and I'm standing, but I'm kind of like peeking, going, am I the only one who's not really feeling this? And it was like, I felt like, they've paid a lot for this transformation, so they're going to have this transformation. And I came out and I thought, it felt so, this is really awful, but it felt, I don't know, really contrived. And almost a little bit I don't know, maybe not safe for some people for whom it was the first exposure to this kind of thing, that they will go away and they'll be like, maybe I do need to go and find 10,000 pounds to go and work with Tony now, or, because that's the next upsell is like, quite a significant one. So I think he's fantastic. I don't know. And I guess it's great because there's so many different sides to it. I guess it's great because people come out of it feeling amazing, but I do think there needs to be some backup after that to pick up the pieces.
I think in terms of marketing and sales and how to get more clients, it's really interesting example because, like, I remember reading this article about somebody's experience going to a Tony Robbins event, and he was on for, like, I don't know, 2 hours or 3 hours, but by that point she had been sitting in that room for like 5 hours being sold to different packages, and all of these guys came in and like made you see how shitty your life is in this respect, or how much you're struggling with that, or how you could be so much more than you are now.
Yes.
There's this whole you are enough. And I think if you go into a Tony Robbins gig, you're not considered enough. You're considered somebody who really wants to grow, which is exactly the kind of people that go to these events, right? You don't go to a Tony Robbins event because you feel you're enough. You don't necessarily go to a coach because you're perfectly happy as you are. You want something more.
Yes.
And I think that's some of the negativity that I definitely had when I was younger around marketing is like, they just want to get into your head and manipulate you into a certain product or whatever. But then there's another side to it that I get from really successful salespeople is that they're absolutely convinced that what they're selling is really, really, really good for you. And if it's not good for you, they don't want to sell that to you because they know that if they sell you something that's not going to be good for you or that's not going to work in the way they intended it, you're going to talk about it, especially in an age of social media. Like, and they're going to get a bad reputation for having sold you a program that doesn't match or fit, and that's actually not good for you as a salesman. As a saleswoman or a man, it's so much better if you have a good relationship with somebody so you can sell to them multiple times. When they talk to their friends about how good that product was that they were sold to by you. So if you are selling, that's the first principle that I've learned around marketing is like you need to be sold on your own product first before you can be really successful.
Yes.
I need to be convinced that what I'm offering to somebody is going to be really good for them. I need to be confident enough to say, look, please make the right decision here. So if somebody doesn't want to buy in, you can genuinely say, look, I don't understand. This is going to be so good for you. How can I make you? How can I help you make the right decision here?
Here's the big but there.
Uh-huh.
You don't need to make them see that you're the right solution. The right people turn up for you. It's sales should be a joy when you have the right person at the other end of the phone or sitting across from you. You shouldn't need to twist their arm too much, because if you've done the phone call or the face-to-face meeting should be the handshake, the final deal, because they've been following you and they know that you've got the content they know that you've got the solution that they are seeking.
If they've been following you for a while already.
Yeah.
What if, for example, that's what I wanted to ask earlier as well, what's the alternative for being a big personality and out there? Because you could be an introvert, but I know a few coaches who are very much introverts, but they've figured out how they construct their website so that it's designed to sell really well, and then they figured out Google AdWords or Facebook ads, or they write content to drive people to that website, but maybe not even the content in terms of big personality, but just an ad, you know, and then people click on your website, and then they convinced that, like, they're like, oh yeah, this is really good, this is what I'm looking for, and then they might be on the phone not having followed you for a while. Or somebody who gets a recommendation by a friend, it's like, oh, you want to work with this person, they offer free consultations, and before they've read anything of you, before they haven't been in your circles, they're on a sales call with you. You know?
Well, and that comes down to the quality of your sales call as well, in terms of ascertaining what that person needs, and not selling meat to a vegetarian. You know, making sure that you have the right product for the right person, and if it's not the right product, I hands up, I found myself on calls thinking, how do I change how do I make it sound like what I've got suits them? And it didn't suit them, and I wouldn't do that anymore. But again, rite of passage, you learn, you think it's not the right person on the phone, when I should have just said, it's time to terminate the call. I let the call go on and try and figure out how I could work with them. Sometimes I do have clients that depart from business coaching, but I also know I can very much help them, because it might be something around NLP, belief change, something else that I know without a doubt I can apply to them and make that change. But I would never try and make a sale if I didn't believe I could genuinely help them. But again, I think you have to come to that point, because you have to have enough calls to be able to say, I don't think I'm the right person for you. However, I have someone, and that's where the referrals come in. You know, you just make those cross referrals.
Exactly. I mean, that's why I have 2-hour consultations, because I really want to get to know somebody to an extent where I can be as confident enough to say, this is the right thing for you. You know, and you're the right client for me, and this is a good match. But I mean, I'm taking 2 hours of my time, potentially for free. I mean, there is an exchange in terms of they making the decision afterwards. But there are calls where people don't sign up because it's not a good match. But this is, again, so important to have that referral network, because now I can say, well, okay, I think I'm not a good match here, but I know somebody who is. And then I just offer them. I mean, people are generally happy to pay 20% referral fee to their first 6 sessions or whatever. So I'm actually getting refunded, like I'm getting some fee for the 2 hours that I spend, that the client is not directly paying me, but through the referral. Because it's useful to be able, if you have that skill, to figure out what kind of service or what kind of person would be a good match for that person, to make those kind of connections. It's a viable source of income. I know one guy who has mostly consultations, and they actually don't really work with that many of the people that they consult, but they have such a splendid network of other coaches, mentors, consultants, teachers, trainers, that they just like have those consultations and then diverse people out.
And there's a whole, affiliate marketing. As a newcomer, you don't necessarily need to know about affiliate marketing, but as soon as you start growing your business, you'll start to notice more people doing affiliate marketing if you haven't observed it already, for the newcomers in the business. And that's another great way for you to make an income from just promoting someone else's product, as long as it's not like a conflict of interest and you feel that they're a credible source. I know plenty of people who've made significant sums from promoting someone else's product.
Yeah, exactly. That network is just so important. And I wish that's something that we would teach in schools more. It's like networking skills, because for a long time I was not good at networking whatsoever. And then at some point I had a kind of a moment when I realized that networking isn't really, I thought networking was, you go to these events or you reach out to these people and figure out how they can serve you. How they can be good for your business or something like that. And then I realized that's not networking. Networking is finding the people that you would really want to help out.
Yeah.
You know, and the people that also want to help you out.
Yeah.
You know, because you like each other and you respect each other's services and whatever you're good at, and you want to support each other.
Yeah.
You know, and there's always going to be people who take advantage of you because they have that older school view on networking.
Yeah.
But once you find that circle, that network of people who really want to support you and you want to support them, not necessarily asking anything back in return, that is such a wonderful thing.
Absolutely.
Because like there's people that I trust and I'd love to have them work with more people, you know, and I regularly refer people if I feel that's a good match, you know. And when you have those people that you can trust, you can wholeheartedly recommend them. And if I recommend somebody that I believe in, you know, people generally go reach out and make that connection because it's a genuine recommendation.
It's powerful. Word of mouth is powerful.
Good. Well, how much time do we have? Oh, we have a little bit of time left. What's something that you would have liked to know or have known when you started out? I mean, you shared so many of your lessons already, which I'm really grateful for. But like, is there something that sticks out that when you started out that you know now, you're like, oh, I wish I would have known that?
Probably just keep going, just keep learning, just keep following people who inspire you. If you have, I don't believe that if you have something that you wish to express, it would not exist in you as a person if it did not need to be expressed. So you just need to find your way to channel that and to find your tribe of people who are going to value what you've got. And you can't succeed being anything else but true to yourself, and that sometimes is the hardest thing to do in a world that's trying to tell us to be something else, to find the truth of who you are, to be able to speak the truth of who you are and attract the people who you can help. Know your boundaries as well, because you'll get in situations, you know, I had people who hired me who had mental health problems, and I had to refer them onwards because I was like, this is beyond the scope of what I can do. Don't kid yourself where you're, you know, what's possible for you if you feel like this is getting out of my hands now. You won't make money overnight. You've got to show up consistently. Like overnight success, it's taken me nearly 3 years to build overnight success. The thing is, when you explode onto the scene, it looks like it's overnight. They don't see what goes in behind the scenes. They see you standing on stage, they see you appearing in magazines or whatever, but they don't see the work that goes behind it. So don't be seduced by people telling you you're going to make, you know, £1 million overnight. That's not going to happen. You've got to put the legwork in. You've got to put, for some people it'll happen quicker and some people slower, but make no mistake, everyone's put in some hard work somewhere along the way before all the glamour comes.
Yeah, absolutely. Talking about that, who are some of the people that you respect, either role models or maybe people who people, listeners out there could follow on Instagram or Facebook or their blogs? Like, who do you learn from when it comes to how to run a good coaching business or just general marketing, sales?
I went to an event the other week where Lewis Howes was there. Have you come across Lewis Howes?
No, I haven't.
He's amazing. He's got a tremendous podcast. He's a really down-to-earth guy. He's interviewed some incredible people, and oh gosh, I'm trying to think of his name. It escapes me at the moment. Some of the women that I follow that I really like their work she's a British lady, Shah Wasman. She's done. Are you familiar with Shah?
No.
She's done really well. She is very inspirational. She teaches people how to do books and how to run businesses, and she seems to be very heart-centered in how she does things and very down-to-earth, no kind of BS.
How do you spell her name?
SHAA is the first name, and Wasman, WASMUND, Shah Wasman. Yeah, she's worth following. And I had the privilege of meeting a lady named Natalie Ellis. I can't think of her surname, but she runs an Instagram page called Boss Babes. And I think she's about 28 years old, and I think she's in the multi-millions now. So she's from Instagram. From Instagram. So there's a lot of millennials out there who are really inspirational in terms of the work that they're doing. Gary Vee is always worth following. He's always got something amazing to say.
Any specific talks or TED Talks or specific books perhaps?
I think one of the books that I always recommend for my clients is The Compound Effect by Darren Hardy. Have you come across I'm just looking at your book.
But the name is familiar.
Yeah. And I think you can actually probably get a free download online of it. But the compound effect is basically what I was just saying. Just show up every day. A little bit every day is going to help build your. It compounds, and then you boom. Suddenly it looks like overnight success. The slight edge is kind of along the same thread as that, and that's I can't think of who the author is. So the compound effect, the slight edge. And a book that I always recommend because I love it is The Four Agreements by Don Miguel Ruiz.
Right.
Have you come across The Four Agreements?
No, I haven't.
It's a little book with a big message. I love it. The Four Agreements are so powerful. Never take anything personally. Don't make assumptions. Always speak the truth, and always do your best. And those four agreements can transform. If you look at just one of those, they can transform your life. If you just look at don't take things personally, how many times do we make assumptions about what something means? We fill in the gaps. If someone doesn't return a call, we just fill it in with our own story, and we cause ourselves so much suffering just by filling in those stories. So if you don't take it personally, or if you don't make an assumption about it, it just takes the suffering out of it. And always do your best. Some days
so
your
what
best.
If it's personal?
Pardon?
What if it's personal? What if somebody actually personally attacks
you? But it
can
never be personal. It could never be personal because anyone's response to you is only a reflection of their truth. So it's never personal.
So the message is: look, you take personal offense rather than somebody actually making it about personal.
Yes, yeah. Because if someone thinks you're the greatest thing that's ever happened to the planet, it should affect you as much as if someone thinks you're the biggest fool that was ever born, because it's only their reality, not your reality. You get to choose who you are.
Right, so the idea that people take offense rather than like anything is not really offensive in its own. You take offense from it.
Yes, yeah. Yes, absolutely.
So if somebody comes and says, look, I've been following your work for years, and I think your material is really shit for those and those and those and those reasons. It's difficult to not take that personally.
Sure, yeah, absolutely. But when you can you see how empowering that would be to be like, that's fine, but I have all these clients who have actually had really good results, so I have a database of success stories, and I believe it's good, and I've won awards, whatever it is. You can look at that external validation, but if you know that what you're doing, if you believe that what you're doing is good, and you've got some.
I think that's the difference between like that kind of self-respect and self-esteem. Self-esteem is very dependent on what other people think about you. Whereas if you've built something and it's strong enough, and you know it's good because you've been thinking about it for a long time, it's tempting to take other people's advice or other people's opinions as a form of validation, good or bad.
Yeah.
But like if you get validated by people for the good, you're gonna take those negative responses to heart as well.
Yes.
And this is where, for example, Twitter, there's a lot of hate on Twitter. A lot of people just absolutely hating your guts for no reason.
Yeah.
Or maybe there's reasons, but it's complex.
Yeah.
But it's like it's difficult not to be affected by that, right? So the advice of like, well, build that thick skin, and if you've decided something is good, don't take things personal. I like that.
Yeah, it can be tricky, but I think it is really really important. It's so empowering because when you read the book, you realize how much suffering we bring on ourselves as well. And
Gary Vee at some point said that he says, I don't give a shit about anybody's opinion, and I care so much about everybody's opinion at the same time.
Yeah, I love it. Fascinating.
That was super interesting because he doesn't really care if anybody thinks that he's not doing a good thing, but he'll go to extreme length to convince somebody that this is actually a really good thing. It's an interesting kind of balance to have because you don't want to ignore people in your that are your followers, But at the same time, you also don't want to, engage with trolls.
Yes.
So I think that's a really fine balance as somebody who's trying to navigate the social media landscape, right?
Yeah, I think it's also important to acknowledge that the more you become visible in the online space and the more you get a greater following, you're going to get haters. And actually, when you get your first hater, I would say, celebrate your haters, because it's a sign that you're doing something. It's a case of, stand for something or fall for anything. So when it's showing that you're making a stand for something, you believe in something enough because you're rubbing someone up. It's a values exercise, isn't it? If someone disagrees with what you think is important, it's their choice if they want to show up on social media and start, expressing hate towards you. But, celebrate your haters because it's showing that you're making an impact.
Mm-hmm. Yes, absolutely. I really like that. I have that question. It's like, if you had 30 seconds of anybody's attention, any group of people, could be everybody in the world, could be only Trump, but if you had 30 seconds, could be a TV on on TV, like an advert on TV, or could just be that all of a sudden you're on every screen in the world and on every phone for 30 seconds, and you could pick the audiences.
Oh wow, every screen on the, wow.
But could also be just one screen of a very specific person or a group. Which kind of group or which kind of people or which kind of person would you pick, and what would the message be?
I think first of all, I want it to be on everyone's phone. And every screen. The world is going to stop for 30 seconds. And the message is that you are so much more than you think you are. You're so much more than the world has led you to believe. And if you dig a little bit deeper, you can find more of the truth of who you are. And when you live in the truth of who you are, you give other people the same permission to live in the truth of who they are. And there's nothing wrong with you. There's nothing wrong with you. And if there's something that's been sort of downloaded and implanted in you as a person, it's absolutely your duty to share that with the world. That is who you are, not the job that you hate, that you went into because it was the way your family tells you to do things. So align with your truth as much as you can, and when you're operating from the truth, you're going to be in that higher vibration state. You're going to be adding so much more value to the world, and you're going to feel so much more satisfied with this iteration of you in this energetic form at this moment in time.
I love it. Thank you for that message. I hope you get it out there at some point.
I've never said it better.
And hey, where can people find you?
They can find me on Facebook, where I am almost every single day, under Denise Mortimer, or drop me an email at denise@denisemortimer.com. Also my Denise, yes, and my website address is denisemortimer.com, although my website I don't use so much, but they can find me there. Thank you so much.
Cool. No, thank you for sharing all of this wonderful knowledge and this experience, and hopefully some coaches will fall a little less hard based on what you've shared with us today. Anything else? Any last words? Anything you want to promote?
Follow me. I've always got something coming up. I mean, I've always got webinars. I've always got courses. I've always got things. Just find me on Facebook. That's the best place to find me and to find out whatever I'm doing. Thank you so much.
Awesome. Big personality. Thank you, Denise.
Pleasure.